Chat, hello, how's it going? Welcome to another week of the Scrim School Scrimcast. If you are new here, I am your host, Bobby Socks. I do PvP things, decent at best, but that is why we host this, is so that we can have guests on here that play way better than I do, so that I can learn with you guys as well. So the topics we're going to go over today are going to be a lot of subclass conversations, some conversations about what we hope on the upcoming TWAB, 120s versus 140s versus 180 hand cannons, meta changes, things like that. Make sure to stick around. The first hour or so, we're just going to be talking with the guests. You guys can ask questions as we go. Then hour two, you guys can jump in, play with these two teachers of the week, and hopefully learn some things. Let's undeafen and bring them on in here. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Yo, what's up?
What's going down? Oh man, you guys, thanks for being here tonight. I'm pretty hyped about this. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks for having us.
For sure.
Yeah. So let's start it off. Do some intros. Who are you? What makes you tick? It doesn't have to be in-game only. What do you guys like to do? What's got your interests?
No, you get it. Yeah, you got it if you want to go first.
All right. My name is NxtUpNoVa. I stream live at twitch.tv/NxtUpNoVa. Out of streaming gaming, I'm a graphic designer. I love design and all that, and a little bit of motion graphics. But I really do enjoy, PvP, PvE, all aspects of the game. So yeah.
Nice.
So my name is Lemur. I do a lot of PvP streaming. I love PvE stuff, but I think we all know how D2 is. Sometimes we all kind of burn through it, and then we all kind of start doing PvP again. So, so I mainly do PvP, a lot of trials, carries, all that kind of stuff. Outside of streaming and everything like that, I am a college student, so this is my final year of school, so going to my final semester. And other than that, that's about it, man.
Oh, let's go, dude. What do you? What's your major?
Oh, I'm in aerospace engineering, so.
Damn.
It's pretty tough, but yeah, no, this year, this is my final year. My final year is pretty chill. So
okay, you got that
my third
senioritis.
year, I was getting railed, but this year I'm kind of just taking electives and chilling, so not too bad.
You looking to more like towards Lockheed or private contractors or what?
So right now I'm planning on going to grad school next year, and that'll be about a year or two program, and then after that, I'm not sure yet. It's kind of a changing market right now, with like a lot more stuff coming out each and every single day, so who knows how it's going to be 2 years from now. I think probably like my dream job would probably be like working for JPL, like Jet Propulsion Lab, or maybe like Blue Origin or SpaceX, something like that, a little private sector. We'll have to see. I don't know yet. We're gonna see, but yeah, no. Dude, so that's me pretty much in a nutshell.
That's huge. That's dope, actually.
Yeah.
Thanks,
man.
That's super cool. I've had some interesting types on here, but I don't think I've ever had a future aerospace engineer. That's pretty cool.
Oh well, hey man, we're here now. I'm excited for tonight. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time.
Yep.
So we're gonna kick it off. Let's start out with mains. Well, actually, let's reel it back a little bit more. When did you get into D2 and how?
No, you got it if you just want to go like first.
So I started Destiny in general back in the Dark Below, like basically a week before Crota's End. And I've been pretty hooked ever since to the game. Yeah, just back in Dark Below. I had a bunch of friends who would tell me all about this game called Destiny, and I never really thought much of it. And then I got into it, and I really started to understand the hype.
Yeah, I was similar in that aspect where I also joined Dark Below. I joined like in February between like House of Wolves and Dark Below, so like year D1 year one, and then but like D1 I wasn't like super into PvP or anything like that. I was just kind of like chilling, just doing PvE with my friends. That was pretty much it. Just like raided, like I was getting carried to the lighthouse in D1, but yeah, and then D2. Obviously played when it came out, and then I think we all know how year one of D2 went. So it was pretty ass. And then eventually, once cross save came out, I switched to PC, and then I played on PC for a couple of months, and then eventually I started streaming, and that's how we got into it.
Nice, man. So that's crazy. Both of you guys started at the same time. This is my little my little flex on the guest every single week is I still have the Destiny first look alpha test on my PlayStation.
Yeah, dude, like I heard about it. I think I heard about it. Like when Bungie, because I was a big Halo guy, right? Like when I already knew about Bungie and everything like that. And I heard about Destiny. I don't know why I didn't get it. I just like maybe I was just busy in my life. I just like wasn't playing video games as much as I was before. But then like eventually my friends like started playing it and they're like, yeah, this game's crazy. And I was like, yeah, like sure, I'll try it out. And I was like,
sure,
yes. No, I'm obsessed.
Yeah, Bungie's had me by the cojones since the original Halo.
Yeah.
So when
yeah,
this came
I
out,
think I got my first Xbox 360 when I was in like 5th grade. The first game I got was like Halo 3, and like I was just like obsessed with it ever since. And then I just like kind of honestly, it's what got me into space too. Kind of funny. So
all the space magic.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, that's dope. Good to hear. All right, let's Panda says define fun. Masochism is the word you're looking for. That's what we do when we turn this on every time and go into trials.
Literally.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive into the nitty gritties. So let's talk mains. What's your main class? What do you like to run?
All right. All day Warlock, occasional Titan. All day usually Top Tree Dawn or Chaos Reach. I primarily lately have been using a shoddy. I used to snipe, but yeah, I'm more of an aggressive player, so I've kind of transitioned into using a shoddy.
For me, if you asked me this last season, I would say like Warlock 100% all the time. But this season, like it was like Stasis and everything like that. It's kind of like, yeah, I kind of had to change things up. This last week I played Top Tree Dawn for the first time this season for trials, and like it went well, kind of. But the weeks before that, I was just running Hunter with Stasis. It's like pretty broken. So it's kind of like you kind of have to use it if you're like trying to carry and stuff. And like I really like Titan too. I haven't been able to like get into it that much with the Titan Stasis, but like I feel like once they nerf Shadow Dive with the Glacial Nade combo, I feel like Titan Stasis is definitely gonna be the best. So I think I want to get more on that. But I'd say my favorite class, I would still say probably Top Down Warlock. Like sniping probably is still my main if I had to say anything. Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
Definitely like my most like comfortable class, like for sure.
That makes me so happy because every single time I have guests on here, I end up always pulling double hunters.
Really?
And the only reason I have a Warlock is for the Scrim School.
Yeah.
So I can actually play my main. I've been a hunter main since the very beginning, with the exception of the Taken King, the King's Fall raid. I had a Titan just so that I could have weapons of light. That's it.
Yeah. I think when I started D1, I was a hunter main, and then like remember how it worked was like you I don't even know how to like say it. I just remember like you couldn't get like sometimes you would get legendary gear to drop and like it wasn't for your class. So like the first legendary piece of gear I ever got was like a Titan mark, like a Titan helmet or something like that on my hunter, and I was like, all right, fuck it, I'm making a hunter. I was like, screw it. Yeah. But yes, or I'm making a Titan. So then yeah. So that's kind of how I was always really a hunter main, but then once they came out with like Top Tree Dawn, the movement was just so good. And I was just like, all right, we're making the switch.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Warlock's fun, especially with Top Dawn. The movement is so much fun.
Yeah, and like Stasis wise, I still think it's better than Stasis because like the Stasis for Warlock is like okay, and like it was super OP when it came out, obviously, but they nerfed it, right? And like compared to the other two, it's definitely like not as good in my opinion. So I still think Top Tree Dawn is what you want to run, or Chaos Reach, like Nova was saying.
We're gonna get into that for sure. Don't worry. That is 100% on our list. Is the balance for Warlock classes, because you guys are both Warlock mains. What how you're feeling about Chaos Reach and Dawnblade and God, whatever the Stasis Warlock attack is called, and why you guys don't run something like Nova Warp. Ooh. Is that a stinging subject?
Yeah.
Talking nerf. Right on. All right, let's keep it rolling. So, a hot topic every single week is shotguns. I'm gonna hit up Lycan's question first because he always gets upset when I don't ask him right away. How do you guys feel about shotguns right now? Do you think that something like an aggressive frame should not have quick draw?
Me personally, like, I feel like a lot of the complaints I see in like my chat and stuff like that are people being like, oh, like I remember like I'll kill someone with like Felinters and people be like, oh, like Felinter's crutch or something like that. I'm like, and the only reason it like seems like a crutch right now is because it's literally like the only aggressive frame in the game apart from Astral that can get quick draw. You know what I mean? That actually
that has
has good
nothing
rolls.
to pair with.
Yeah, so like there's no, so if there was more guns that we can actually use that were like aggressive frames, like high impact frames, you know, like maybe if they brought back the Matador, like the Party Crasher or something like that from D1, then I think people really wouldn't care but I feel like it's a problem now because not everyone has it. So you know what I mean? Like no one's complaining about a Dord because everyone has a Dord. You know what I mean? So like I feel like no one would really complain about Felinters if everyone just had Felinters, but I totally see why that would be annoying. You know, like it's like I hate to say it, but like a CQC definitely like cannot compete. Like it's not bad, but like it's good if you don't have a Feliners, but like you know what I mean? Like you're definitely not gonna run over Feliners. So like
100%.
I don't know, man. My CQC has quick draw and Vorpal on it. And it's got accurized.
I mean,
I got the roll and
I've used it for a while, man, and like sometimes I mean, hey, if it feels good for you, like you know, it's more power to you. But for me, it just like wasn't my cup of tea, you know.
I was finding Felwinters was leaving him one more often than not when I was barrel stuffing. I don't know if it was the spread pattern or what, but
yeah,
I like to
that is
in.
annoying too. Like you do always have to ADS with Feliners, which is different. So like that is kind of annoying. That's honestly I like Astral more than Feliners. I just hate the fact that it's a kinetic which blows because I really like my Astral. It's like I have like a God roll one that I got last season and I really like it, but I just can't use it because now the meta right now is 120s, right? So there's no 120 energy, which is another topic in and of itself.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so
that's there's hints and rumors that there will be an energy 120.
There probably will be. There's no way. I mean, if there isn't, I will be very surprised. I mean, then again, I thought there was going to be a Trials hand cannon this season, but
yeah, I'm surprised.
That didn't happen. I thought they were going to make an energy Trials hand cannon, but I guess not.
That would have been amazing, actually. That probably would have brought people back in.
It definitely would have.
For sure.
Which rolls us into our next topic. So this is always a fun one too. Obviously the PvP ecosystem is pretty low. So what do you think, if you had one say to Bungie right now, what would you say that you think would work to bring people back into PvP from PvE or to the game in general?
Here, Nova, if you want to go, you can. I kind of took over the last one.
So if I had to choose one thing, I mean, there's a lot of things, but one specific thing, I mean, obviously something to grind for consistently, you know, like something that you have to, you know, work really hard for, you know, instead of something you just get and you're done, right? So, you know, it could be anything, an emblem, a shader, anything. Like they had the Scarab emblem back in Destiny 1. People would spend months grinding for that. You know, just pretty much anything that, you know, people could chase for that would take a while. And that would actually be worth it.
Okay.
Yeah, so along that line, I'm kind of the same way. But okay, so Destiny at its core has always been about one thing, and that one thing is always going to be loot, no matter what, whether you're PvE or PvP, no matter what you're doing. It's always loot. So think of why so many people were mad this season or when Beyond Light dropped was because there was like little to no loot, right? There was like we only got like a handful of new weapons. Like Season of the Hunt weapons were like there were new ones, but they weren't really that good and they weren't really what people wanted. You know what I mean? Like they just updated just made these big sandbox changes to like 120s and like they didn't even like include any. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of crazy. So I think the one thing that will bring, I mean, I've already talked about this in like other stuff too, but like it kind of leads into Trials loot, honestly. I think if the Trials loot was better, then I think we wouldn't be having the problem that we have now, because right now what I'm seeing, what a lot of people talk about is they're saying like a really casual player or a person, you know, that maybe like is super hardcore PvE but doesn't play a lot of PvP or something like that, doesn't really play trials that much. And they say every single time they go into trials, it's just like a massive sweat fest and they hate it. And trials needs like a massive overhaul. Like loot isn't going to do that. Like it's just the playlist itself sucks. And I'm like, I don't agree with that at all, because I think the playlist is fine. The reason why it sucks right now for so many people is because the population is so low. So you keep playing the same people over and over again, and the only people still playing it are the PvP sweats, are the people who just like PvP. So like you're not going to find that casual guy who just does PvE all the time. You know what I mean? You're not going to have those teams. And the reason, in my opinion, like why that is because the loot right now is terrible. Like for trials, like there's really no reason to go flawless, like at all, really, because if they're just gonna rotate the loot, like for example, you could have a summoner be a gift or be the drop for the flawless chest like 1 week, but like the next week it could be like game 3. You know what I mean? So it's like if they can just get it on game 3, why even go flawless? And that also leads into adept loot, and I think the adept loot is terrible too. It's not good at all for what it needs to be. Honestly, what I think they should do to change it is they should really just like I've heard mixed opinions. This is what I think would be best, is if they made it so the adept roles were curated roles, like from D1, where when you went to the lighthouse and got it to drop, like what you're getting. You know what I mean? So like for the Astral, for example, like right now, I think they said it was bugged, but like it's supposed to be if you go flawless, you get the added weapon of that week to drop. Like if you just keep going flawless over and over again, you can keep grinding the rolls. But like the state of the game right now is that the casual players or people who don't really play PvP that much can barely even get to like 3 wins, let alone flawless. So it is just so unbelievably like not even worth it to do that. You know what I mean? And so it just doesn't make any sense. So I think what they should do is just make it so the gun you get, or let's say it's an Astral, for example, the Adept Astral weekend, when you go flawless, you get a curated Adept Astral. It's got like quick draw, opening shots with every single other perk that's like deemed the god roll or whatever. And if they even want to step it up a notch, they could even make it so it has like 2 perk slots, kind of what they did with Feloners, where you can have like Vorpal or opening shot or something like that. And that would be really cool. And I feel like so many people would play just to get that gun, because one, that's like another replacement for Feloners. That's like that's something right there they can use. It's literally the same gun for the most part. And then but I feel like Bungie doesn't do that because they want people to keep playing the game. They want people to not just like go flawless once and stop. So what they could do is they could just they can bring back or keep it up with those like adept mods. So new week, new mods. So like if you don't really want a weapon that week or whatever, maybe you got what you want. You can just keep going flawless again every week to get the mods.
Keep trying to farm for those mods.
Yeah, I think like at the end of the day, it's gonna make it like I just feel like it's gonna incentivize people to play the game again, because right now it's just like if I didn't stream, honestly, I probably wouldn't be playing Trials right now. And I don't blame you if you're not. You know what I mean? So like it's just, I feel like there's so much more they could do. And then also with the adept mods too, like they could I don't know, like it's different for controller, obviously, because you have like the targeting adjuster and that kind of stuff. But like for mouse and keyboard, like on PC, like I'm personally just like never going to take off Icarus. So like I, you know what I mean? Like there needs to be like 2 mod slots too. I think that would make them really cool. If it was like 2 mod slots and curated roles, I feel like people would definitely grind for them.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. It's, first off, I think Icarus should be an intrinsic perk. Absolutely should be an intrinsic perk. I think Icarus should be an intrinsic perk, and I think Traction should be as well. But that's obviously my opinion on it. As far as Trials goes, from what I see, like the mods are cool, but the balance of the mods themselves don't feel as potent, I guess, as they did in D1.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
They just don't feel they don't feel the same. You lose out on an Icarus, something like that, which is huge. I mean, there's not very many weapons that I'll run without Icarus on it.
I agree. I think if they made Icarus intrinsic, then that's a different story. But like right now, it's just like the difference. Like there's reasons like you don't run exotics because of Icarus. You know what I mean? So like that is an issue as well. So maybe that's a reason why Bungie doesn't really want to yeah, and put Icarus on everything is because, you know, like everyone might just use Ace of Spades. You know what I mean? Because one of the downsides of Ace of Spades is because it doesn't have Icarus. So like maybe it's like a balancing thing too. I don't really know. But I definitely think it should just be on everything, for sure. But yeah, I think that would definitely help out the loot. I think that would bring more people back to trials. And like, for example, like when it was Bannerfall weekend, like the first weekend of trials and the population was high, it was so good. Like that weekend felt great.
Oh, it's
so
great.
like ever
Yeah,
since then, the population has just gone down more and more, and because people don't really care about the loot, and so it's just like now it's like I've played the same team like 3 times or 4 times in a row, and we were all on different wins. Like last weekend, like it was literally crazy. And we beat them every time, and I felt like terrible because they were probably just like an LFG team just trying to play trials, and it was just like it just sucked. You know what I mean? And like they're probably thinking, oh, I hate trials. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like 3 more people who probably hate the game mode now, and it just sucks because
well, I mean, it's either they're LFG and they get steamrolled, or I mean, I haven't seen very many people, obviously, besides you, that aren't running stacked through trials.
I'm borderline going crazy. Yeah, it's like, it's pretty rough out there. Like, not gonna lie.
I mean, I played it Tuesday morning right before reset, and I think we only made it to like second win. First, it was super early in the morning, but second, it was literally every single team was just 3 stacked, super sweat, going for it with Stasis and empowering rifts and 120s, and they were just sitting in the corner.
Yeah, it's very annoying. Yeah, I borderline, like I didn't stream Monday because like I was just so pissed off from like Sunday. I was just like I can't do this. I was just like sad. I was like, you know what I mean? It was just, I don't know, it was just rough because it's just like, I don't know, like it really is all you play now. It's all just like either stacked recovs or like an LFG team just trying to play, or just like just stacked teams just playing trials, and like, which is good because sometimes people will back out for me and that kind of stuff. But yeah, a lot of people have definitely stopped doing carries, and like I don't blame them. It's definitely tough right now. It's definitely very tough. Like I feel like I'm like playing a tournament like every single time I'm like running a card, so it's like definitely tough.
I 100% agree with you. It's in a weird spot. It really is.
Yeah, and then there's like cheating too, right? Which is another topic, but it's like like honestly, I didn't really play a lot of cheaters until like last weekend or like this weekend. So I think the only reason why we're playing a bunch now is because the population is so low. Like I don't think it's because there's just more cheaters. I think it's just because no one's playing the game, so we just encounter them more. But like the first 2 weeks of trials, I like barely played any. Or this season, like I was like, oh wow, the cheaters went down a lot, and then now that the population's dying, I've definitely played a lot more. And yeah, it's just like, so I think it's definitely a problem that Bungie needs to figure out, obviously with anti-cheat, but honestly I'd rather them incentivize other things first than fix that, because right now it's like I'm not playing a cheater like every match. Like when I play them, obviously it's annoying, but I would rather like have more people in the playlist and like and people enjoying it than them just like kicking out like 100 so people or however many cheaters there are.
Agreed. I mean, if you look at the stats for last week's trials, I think it hit a max of 140k across all 3 platforms for the weekend. That's the entire weekend.
I think Radiant Cliffs, there was like 2100 on PC. Like 2100 teams or people or something like that. Like it was not a lot. Yeah,
it's wild. I'd love to see it back. I think Trials has the potential to be one of the best game modes for PvP.
Honestly, it's like the only game mode because I just feel like Bungie isn't gonna like it's not a PvP game. You know what I mean? So they're never gonna go full into PvP, which I totally understand. But at the same time, PvP is what, like I said earlier, PvP is what keeps people playing the game. So like when there's that constant drought, when people do play through everything, people look to Twitch or they look to PvP and that's what they watch and that's what they do. It's just because it's like the only, I don't want to say it's the only bit of content in the game that's like replayable, but it's like if I could run strikes or play Crucible, I'd probably rather play Crucible. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that kind of goes with what Nova was saying, where you can add like replayability, like reasons for it. So like if you could add maybe some like new weapons to like a Crucible loot pool, where if you just want to play quick play, you know, for example, like Ice Luna in D1, you could get it to drop just from playing.
Oh god,
you know, quick
the
play.
amount of
So like
farming
if they
to try and
added,
do.
if they added guns like that where it was only in Crucible, and if you just played Crucible, you know, you enjoyed doing it, you know, you had a chance for it to drop. Or for example, something like strikes. You know, maybe you don't like PvP. Maybe you do like strikes. So then they add weapons to the strike loophole where if you just run strikes, you have a chance for a drop. There's like skeleton keys in D1 and all that kind of stuff they just like didn't include. So it's just sad, you know. But I'm hoping they'll make some good changes this next season with that big loot update they're doing.
I hope so too. Nova, how do you feel? Do you think they're gonna bring something like playlist specific loot? I know I've been hearing rumors about it, obviously.
I mean, I was hearing stuff about Palindrome and
Right.
a lot of D1 weapons being brought back. But honestly, for me personally, as much as, you know, I'd like Palindrome to come back and the old weapons to come back, I'd really like new stuff, to be honest.
New stuff would be great.
Having new things would be great.
But
Yeah, like old stuff is cool, you know what I mean? And like I like the fact that they have old stuff, you know what I mean, that if they want to just like, you know, bring back, but they should never really only bring back new old stuff and like use it as new stuff, you know, or like use it as like content for that season. Like if they're gonna bring back, if they're gonna say, let's say they bring back weapons for next season, right? Let's say they bring back like let's say they make 15 new weapons or something like that, or they're bringing next season. If like half of them are D1 and like half of them are new, I feel like I wouldn't really like that. I feel like I would only like it if it was like maybe like a third of them are D1 and like 2/3 of them are like, you know, D2. Because like right now it's like I had fun with those weapons and that was great, but like I still want new stuff, you know. It's just a new game. Like we've already paid for that stuff. We've already played that game. It's a new, you know what I mean? It's like if I'm gonna pay for a new expansion and like or a new season or whatever, like I want something new to the game, you know, that can bring some variety in. So just like Nova saying, as much as I like new stuff or old stuff, you know, Palindrome was a great gun. I loved it in D1, but like new stuff would be awesome as well. And I think they shouldn't really use old stuff as a way to like be like, here's your new content when it's not really new, you know.
We brought new, here it is. Let me build off of that though. I know while it feels old to us, there's Guardians that have not played D1. So to them, it does feel new. So do you think Bungie's doing that kind of balance for those that stepped in at D2 versus D1? You know, guys that never got to play the Dark Below and go against Alacool. Guys that, you know, never got to play Vault of Glass or try and get the Necrochasm, things like that.
Like, okay, I kind of get that, but at the same time, like if that's what they're doing, they're kind of doing a shitty job, in my opinion. like they're like if they're bringing, like, you know, if they want to give people the D1 experience by like bringing back one gun or something like that, you know what I mean? It's like I don't really think that's what it is. I think why D1 was so good is because of what we talked about earlier, where it had this replayability and these weapons you could grind for, and there was so much more to do and all that kind of stuff. Like it wasn't just like, you know, I don't know, you how it is now in D2, where the loot isn't really there, but it, like, you know, I don't know. I feel like D1 there was so many more methods of getting loot and all that kind of stuff in different ways to get guns and get armor and that kind of stuff in the game than there is in D2, and I feel like that's what made D1 really, really cool, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
But yeah, and D2, like if they're just bringing back D1 stuff to like give people like the D1 experience, like maybe exotics and like maybe a few like Palindrome for sure, but like I don't know, I don't think them bringing back like some random ass like you know, gun that no one really like exotic or something like that from D1 that no one really used that much, like that's not, you know what I mean?
I'm bringing back Dreg's Promise.
Yeah, it's like exactly. It's like, come on, or even like Plan C. It's like, dude, like, you know, I don't really, no one really cared about that. But if it's like Galahorn, it's like, okay, you know, it kind of depends on what it is.
Right.
So I guess we'll have to see what Bungie's plans are, you know.
Yeah.
But,
I mean,
yeah.
We've well, obviously we haven't had a TWAB because of the holiday, which I respect the shit out of, that they get time with their families. My company's the same way. Dylan's been putting stuff on Twitter about, you know, asking questions about PvP as a whole. Do you think it's something that's going to be touched on?
For sure.
I think it's definitely going to be looked at from a stasis standpoint for sure. Like balancing wise, like they're definitely going to look at Shadow Dive. Like honestly, like they kind of have to. Like I feel like they're at a point where they know the only thing going on in the game right now, like the only reason like the player population is what it is right now, I think, is because of like PvP. Like I don't know, maybe this is
Okay.
I'm kind of
Okay.
I'm kind of biased right now. Like it's probably it. But
that's my favorite answer
I don't
I've
know.
heard so far.
I've never really been into like Grandmaster Nightfalls or anything like that, and it is because I don't like PvE. It's because I just don't really think it's worth it. And I think that like I know you can get Ascendant shards and all kind of stuff, so if you need that, great. Like it's definitely a good way to farm exotics and stuff. But like for someone who has been playing the game for forever, you know, which most people who are still playing the game now have been, you know,
Yep.
you're not most of the population right now are all old players who've been playing for years. They usually have all that stuff, and they usually have every exotic in the game. So like for those players, I personally am not going to run, you know, GMs or anything like that because I don't need the materials. And
Right.
I feel like and that kind of goes back to what we were saying, is if they added some kind of replayability, you know, where there's more incentives to do that kind of stuff, then sure. But for now, it's kind of like I feel like right now the player population is what it is because people are just like playing PvP. Like I don't really know what else there is to do in the game, honestly.
Right.
You know, right now, because they're trying to do this whole like weekly thing where they like, you know, it's like space out the content. Like I get that, you know, you don't want everything just blow through it in a week. But
Yep.
you know, at the same time, it's kind of like, I don't know, like they're not coming out. Like we thought we were gonna get the Hawk Moon quests and that kind of stuff, but like that's not
Right.
here yet. And I feel like everyone at this point has kind of already grinded the lost sectors for the exotics, which I think was a really cool way. I think if they expanded that, you know, into more stuff where you can just, you know, it's like, okay, you grind this lost sector, you know, you get this piece of armor, you have a chance for it to drop, or whatever it is. It could be lost sector, it could be a strike, could be anything.
Yep.
You know, but I do like how they're kind of like specifying, you know, what you get from doing this. That is kind of cool. So I hope they bring that mechanic into more stuff in the future.
Absolutely. So Funky's
yeah.
got a question. He said, "Do you think Stasis is in a good place? If not, what would you change?"
That's a interesting one.
Yep.
I mean, it depends on, in terms of PvP, I feel like it's, you know, Stasis itself isn't really, I feel like it's in a good place itself, but when it comes to, you know, aspects and fragments and the things they provide, it kind of messes it up a little bit, the balance.
Okay.
Yeah, I think PvE wise, like that's kind of why Destiny is in a tough spot right now, because like in D1, you know, they had like two different teams. They had a PvP team and a PvE team, but they don't really have that in D2. In D2, they just have sandbox team, and so they kind of have to deal with both, which kind of sucks because like they want to make stuff super fun PvE, but at the same time it kind of has to be limited for PvP, right? So what I think in PvP, Stasis is interesting. It's Destiny is highly based on like movement and, you know, like map awareness, all that kind of stuff. And like when you're like an FPS and like you can just freeze people, it kind of just like throws all that away.
Right.
But at the same time, like it's not super hard to play around. Like you can learn, you can just adjust to it. You know what I mean? And so you can play around it. I think if they were to like to totally, like they can't really just get rid of freezing people, because like that's kind of what Stasis is. So I don't really know how they could rework it to where it doesn't do that. Like maybe just slowing, but I feel like that would kind of lose its appeal in PvE. So I feel like they can't really do that. But I feel like honestly, it's in a pretty good spot. There's a couple things that needs to be tweaked. Most notably, definitely Shadow Dive with the fragment. It's really not Shadow Dive. It's just the Fisher's fragment, which makes it like, you know, the radius and the damage massive. Yeah, it's not.
Thank you.
Well, so many people are like, oh, they need to nerf Shadow Dive. It's not Shadow Dive. It's like, oh, there's like Shadow Dive just needs a cooldown and it'll be fine. I'm like, that will literally do nothing for what the problem is. Like that will do absolutely nothing. Like people, if you could just Shadow Dive, you know, twice in every 5 seconds, well, you know, you're still gonna get one shot once with a grenade. You know, so it's like the cooldown isn't gonna do anything. Like maybe it'll be cool, I guess, but like you're not complaining about people using Shadow Dive as a movement. You know, you're complaining about getting one shot by a nade. So the problem is really just that fragment. If they nerf that range, and that radius or the damage, I think it'll be a lot more balanced. Like I don't think that thing should ever one shot a super. Like there have been so many rounds in trials where I've like 1v3 clutched just because like I have a grenade and it's just stupid.
Right.
Like, it's just dumb. And like when I gotta say, when you're playing Stasis or when you're playing Hunter, like it's not as tilting because like you can do it too. You know what I mean? So if someone shadow dives you, it's like whatever. You know, I just wiped their team with the last round, so it's fine or something like that. You know what I mean? But like when I was like playing top Don, I was getting mad because like I would genuinely like outplay someone or something, and then they would just like throw a grenade and just like murder me. And I'm just like
right.
Sick.
Sick.
So like I totally see how it's annoying. So like I don't think that should be a thing because honestly it's kind of annoying on Titan too. It's not as easy to pull off, but like it's definitely there on Titan. So it's really, again, that just kind of shows you it's not shadow dive. It really is just the the fragment. So
the whisper fissures.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. Also on shadow dive, it should not have damage resistance at all. Why is that a thing?
There it is.
Like yeah, it's so stupid because this on top of it, right? Like let's say you truly outplay someone, right? Like they're gonna shadow dive you, like you bait them into it, like you're gonna shotgun them, like yeah, like totally just got this dude, and he just takes your shoddy shot because he has extra resilience
he slams
from
into
just
the ground,
smashing the air. Like it's so stupid. Like that'd be like if I got extra resilience from like Icarus dash with Dawn Blade. Like that's pretty much what that is. You know what I mean? It's just dumb.
Yep.
So like that should not be a thing. And then they should take that resilience and then put it on the super because the super has none right now. And it should have some, and Shadow Dive has resilience, but the super doesn't, which doesn't make any sense to me. So I think they should put the resistance on the Hunter super, and then I think it would be pretty balanced if they take it off Shadow Dive and then nerf the fragment. And I think the only other thing that needs to be adjusted is the Titan super, because it's just kind of like it's very beefy and lasts forever. Like I remember like I've headshot it before, like with a sniper, and it only does like it like takes off a shield and like a chunk of its health, but like that's it doesn't leave it one shot. Like you still gotta wail into it, like and it's hard to hit, because it's so laggy, because like the servers can barely like keep up with it because it's flying around everywhere. So it's definitely something I need to look at. Other than that, I think everything is pretty balanced.
Okay.
If they just nerfed all that, I think it would be in a good spot. I think
just those little things. Nova, what you got to add?
I mean, honestly, I was gonna say the exact same things. Like,
I'm just glad that both y'all didn't say shadow dive.
Aspects, fragments that make it insane.
Yep. Is there anything you'd think that would make it a lot more balanced from a PvP words hard, a PvP perspective, Nova, to make it a little more balanced?
Well, PvE, I mean, obviously at all times when you think of a PvP whatever.
It's not just me.
Perspective, you have to think of it in a PvE perspective as well.
Right.
So yeah, like you were saying, like, making all abilities slow. Yeah, that would be it would make PvP a little less annoying, but at the same time you have to think about in PvE, none of your abilities, freeze except for your super. So I mean, in terms of balancing it a little bit more, I mean, I don't really know. Just, I don't really know, honestly. I mean, because it's so hard when you have to think of it from two perspectives.
Right. All right, we're gonna I got one to build off of that, and then we'll jump back into the questions from chat. So I had Boy on here a while ago, Mr. Boy himself. And he made the suggestion, what if we put something like PvP behind a $5 paywall, and that money went directly into a PvP specific sandbox team so that we could have split sandboxes? Do you think that that's something that would work? Do you think that that's something that would be useless, wouldn't be paid for? Do you think it would affect the ecosystem?
I remember I've heard him talking about that. I feel like, I don't know. Okay. I don't think they should do PvP. I think it should be like something specific, like maybe trials or something like that. Because like, if it's just all PvP, I feel like new people aren't really going to play PvP because like, like new players like hear about Destiny, at least right now, because of the PvE, you know what I mean? And then they get into PvP later. At least that's what I've seen for the most part. No one's like, I'm gonna buy Destiny to play trials, you know what I mean? Like, so like most people don't do that. So I feel like if they just blockaded everything off a paywall off the bat, people would be like, why the hell would I pay $5 for this? Like, I'm just gonna go run strikes. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, I feel like if they did everything, then it would be kind of counterproductive. But at the same time, I feel like that would be good. But I also feel like that's something Bungie's never gonna do, unfortunately, because I just feel like I don't want to say they don't care about PvP, but like, you know, like they've made it clear it isn't like their first interest or their first priority, you know. So I feel like that's just something they wouldn't realistically do. But I feel like it would be good. Like that would be a good idea, you know, if we actually had a set, you know, team for that, or like set updates, that would be fantastic, and I think it would make the game a lot better. But I don't know what Bungie's like thinking of it is. Maybe they just think that like it's too far gone for them to like, you know, like put a lot of effort into it, maybe, or something like that. I don't know. But I feel like there's been a lot. Maybe now it could be different, you know. Maybe they're making changes next season and stuff. But like we've been asking for a lot of stuff for like, you know, years even. You know, and it's taken a while. Like even buffs and stuff like that. Like when you look at like something like Warzone, you know what I mean? I don't get me wrong. I know it's a bigger studio and it's all, and you know, it's different. But like if you look at something like Warzone, they nerf like guns in like 2 weeks. Like if there's a broken gun, they will nerf it immediately, and it's like
DMR.
Yeah, exactly. DMR. Yeah. And so, and then like Bungie, like it took them like a year to like nerf like one unmask, and it's like, you know what I mean? And so there's a lot of like, I don't want to say it's because they can't do it. I think it's just because PvP isn't really their like biggest interest. You know what I mean? So, yeah, but I think that would be good. I think if they locked it behind a paywall, maybe like trials, maybe not Iron Banner. Actually, maybe Iron Banner, you know, because that's what brings a lot of casuals in. If they lock it behind a paywall, and then like, but not like a super expensive one, like you said, like $5, and then they add good loot for people to actually play it. You know what I mean?
Give it a reason. Do you think that would play off as a pay to win though, or something like that? Like can make a point. He says
I could totally see that, but I think if they market PvP as like a kind of an expansion, and they kind of show that they're going to put effort into it rather than something that's just intrinsically in the game, I feel like then people wouldn't really complain. You know what I mean? Like if they show like, hey, we're going to use this money to like update PvP, we're going to make it good, we're going to do all that, I don't think people would complain if about it being pay to win. Now if it was like, you know, they put like I don't know, just like the best guns in the game in like from Iron Banner, and it was like, here, pay $10 to play Iron Banner, then like, yeah, it's different. But if it was just because, you know, like kind of a mutual understanding with the community saying, hey, you know, this is because we want to make Crucible better for you, we think this will be good, and plus it kind of deters cheaters too, I guess, you know. A bunch of accounts to ban, you know, they don't really, it's not that funny, but you know, they don't really want to spend like $5 every single time their account gets banned.
Fuck it, let them. Let them, if it funds the team. All right. Like I said, what about putting it behind something like Rumble, Comp, Iron Banner, and Trials?
For the $5?
Yeah.
Rumble, Comp, Iron Banner, and Trials. I don't think Rumble needs one. I feel like a lot of people play Rumble, so I feel like a lot of like free to play people. Like I feel like whenever I go to Rumble, it's kind of just like a bunch of gyms. It's like gym around. We're just like, you know, straight out of the first mission, and they're like doing the Shaxx mission or whatever it is. Like when they first load in.
Every time I go into Rumble, it's all Suros and
really
spamming.
I haven't played in a while, so maybe that's why. But yeah, no, I think Iron Banner Comp would be good too. Like if Comp has a lot of potential. Like I like the game mode itself. It's just like, again, there's no incentive to play it. So if they made it so it was actually like, you know, solid to play and there was a reason to play it, I feel like more people would play it and the paywall would work out. You know, if they added, I don't want to say they added like pinnacles. Damn, I had a really good idea for Comp, but I can't remember what it was. It was like, yeah, I can't remember. Oh, I think it was like, they add like, so let's say they add like a gun loophole. I'm just gonna use IS Luna for example. Let's just say they brought it back or something like that, or Palindrome or whatever, and they only add it to Comp. So if you win matches in Comp, it has a chance for you to drop or something like that, right? And then every time you rank up, it's a guaranteed to drop. And then let's say you get to the Legend. Whenever you play a game of Legend, if you win it, like it's guaranteed to drop every single game. So if you just want to keep farming games of Legend, like you can do that. Or like, you know what I mean? Like there's just different ways to farm it. You know, it doesn't have to be exactly that, but I'm just trying to think of like different ways they can add some replayability or whatever to the game, you know? But I think that would be really cool is if they added that stuff like that. But then I think a $5 paywall would be worth it. You know, I think if you get all those game modes and they put effort into them, then for sure. But I think if it was just like, all right, we're gonna make PvP $5 and keep and like how it is right now, I think that would be a ripoff.
Right. If they gave you specific stuff to pay for and almost made it like a separate part of the game itself.
Yeah, if they advertised it as like, hey, you know, there's this cool thing called PvP and we want to make it like good, and you know, and it's gonna be like if they kind of advertise it as like an expansion or like a, you know, not just
like
just
a plugin.
PvP. It's all, yeah, exactly. I think that would be really solid.
Nova, what would you like to see with it? Nova?
Yes, mic issues.
Yes, mic
I'm
issues.
not gonna lie,
Excellent.
the past minute, like I've had like issues with my audio.
Have you been talking just indefinite?
Yes.
I was like, wow, Nova's quiet.
I'm like really quiet.
That was saying something because I know how much you
Yeah.
love to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be cool. I really would. I know I would absolutely pay for $5 to be able to play, you know. If it helped out and gave us specific loot and things like that, I think that'd be huge.
Yeah, I think most people
like,
would pay for it.
I think
you
I
know?
don't know. Like I feel like most people like would they pay for that? I don't know because I feel like a lot of people just be like the game mode's crap right now anyways. Why would I pay $5 for it? I don't know. Like I experience a lot of people like in the chat who are just like who just like don't really care about PvP, but like they like watching it. You know what I mean? They don't really like necessarily playing it. So like I don't know. Like maybe you know like maybe that would be good, but I also feel like that could flop too, and like. I don't know. I guess we won't really know until it happens, you know.
Right.
So it could be solid for the game. I think if they advertised it, like we said, you know, where it was like a separate, you know, little expansion kind of thing or something like that, where they like were really gonna put effort into it. But I feel like if they were just kind of like, you know, pay us $5 to play PvP, I feel like a lot of people would be like mad about it, you know. If they were just
absolutely.
like, we need, you know, because I feel like Bungie, like I feel like they make a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like I feel like a lot of people think like, oh, like they're a smaller company, but like, yeah, think about it. You know, like Beyond Light was $40, you know,
Right.
which was same price as Forsaken. So it's
But
like,
if you look at, so this is one of my favorite things. I've done a lot of research on game design costs, just because I'd love to hear like how much is spent, especially on things like Cyberpunk. The average game now costs anywhere between 500 and 600 million to design. With voice actors, with game designers, with graphics studios, with, you know, playability testers, obviously. It's starting to become more expensive to create a game than it is to make a movie.
Oh, I mean, I think, yeah, that makes complete sense. Yeah, because it's
So,
like,
yeah,
you're
it
putting
adds
so much
up.
more into it.
Yep. So they're actually finding out now that if a game is a flop, it actually will make or break an entire studio, especially an indie type studio. Like if they invest that much money into it and people buy it, things like Cyberpunk, right? The amount of money that was invested and they had to refund all those people, like it's going to take them a lot to bounce back from it.
Well, like if you look at something like Cyberpunk, the reason why it was so bad was because it was rushed and like, if that game came out like 6 months from now, I feel like it would be really, really solid. But like the bugs made it like bad. You know what I mean? That's and the optimization made it bad too. Like so many people bought it on consoles and they promised it was going to look great, and then it looked like a PlayStation 2 game. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, at that point, you kind of just have to be like, I don't know. That's a tough situation for a developer for something like Cyberpunk. You know, because like everyone wants, you know, the game to come out. You already delayed it once, and like, you know, they're gonna get mad if you delay it again. But I feel like that's also like, you know, it's gonna hurt you, you know, more than it's gonna help you to put it out now.
Agreed.
You know, I don't know. It's definitely, I see where you're coming from too. You know, it's definitely like you got to be careful with what you're doing, because you know if it flops, you know, you lose a lot of money at the same time. But I mean, I don't know, because like for example, if you look at Bungie, you can calculate the sales for Beyond Light, you know, because I'm sure that data's somewhere, but you can't really calculate the sales for Eververse or anything like that on top of it. So it's kind of like, I don't want to say like, you know, they're, you know, we don't like they're making a ton of money, you know, but I feel like they're definitely like not like in trouble. You know what I mean? Like I feel like they, you know, they have money to do it. I just personally don't think their mindset is on PvP, and I don't blame them. You know, it's not a PvP game. They intended it to be PvE. PvP was kind of just like a side thing. But at the same time, it's like when they did, you know, when the game was doing great, like Forsaken, for example. If you look at what we got during that time period, it wasn't much. We got like a couple maps and some new like Crucible vendor armor, and I think that was it. So like, you know, it wasn't anything too crazy, and maybe like I guess you could say the pinnacle weapons too. But yeah, you know, we weren't getting any crazy new game modes or anything like that, you know. So I feel like right now it's kind of, we need just more like incentive or more like reason for people to play PvP, and that will bring the population up. And I feel like if we can have that, then Bungie would be more inclined to kind of work on it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Nova, your mic working?
Yeah, it's good.
There he is. What do you got to add to it?
But yeah, so when Bungie, in terms of like Bungie adding incentive to, you know, playing PvP and expanding the player base, I feel like, people, not everyone tends to want to play, even with incentive. Not everyone even chooses to play PvP. And not everyone chooses to play PvE.
Yep.
But I kind of like the new system. I wish they would expand on it more, where basically you get loot and you can choose how you gain the loot, like, you know, Gambit, Strikes, Crucible. And I feel like, you know, if they expanded upon that,
Sure.
you know, people would be able to choose what they wanted to do. But at the same time, that could lower the player base in certain game modes. Like, I'm assuming most players wouldn't want to do Gambit, you know, over PvP or Strikes, just to get a weapon.
Right.
But yeah, in terms of like balancing the player base and increasing the player base, definitely, you know, letting players do what they want to do to unlock loot would be good and bad in different ways.
True. All right, we get a question in chat. Zombie says, what are your opinions on crossplay? Do you think it's going to help the player base? Do you think it's going to hurt the player base?
I think it's going to definitely help it for sure. Because I feel like the reason why Bungie doesn't really want to do a lot of game modes or anything like that is because the population's so small, you know? So if they increase that population, because right now it's like they don't want to split the population too much, right? Like they don't want to add some like crazy new competitive game mode if only like 100 people are going to play it, you know? Right. So like I feel like by allowing people to increase that player pool, then it's definitely going to help the game for sure. I think the only way it would hurt the game, like if you asked me this last year without the new gen next gen consoles, I would say definitely no. People are going to be pissed about it. Like now people are playing on, you know, 120 FPS the Crucible, which honestly sometimes even better when I can get on PC while I'm streaming. Right. So like there's that, and there's also like you know, now they have an FOV slider, you know. So honestly I think people on consoles right now, our next gen consoles, are chilling, and I think they're in a really good spot. So I feel like it's definitely going to be beneficial. The only place I think it would actually hurt is with cheaters. But again, I think if the population is like super high because of the crossplay, then I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. And I feel like Bungie knows that as well. You know, I feel like they know in their heads, thinking, okay, if we're going to do crossplay, obviously cheaters are going to be able to play on like Xbox and PS4, or at least against those people. So I feel like they got like something, you know, brewing, you know, for them to... I don't really think they would just like openly be like, hey, you know, we're going to just let cheaters ruin your gameplay experience, you know. Right. Like I feel like they, you know, they know deep down, you know.
Well, I mean, they just sued a cheating company.
Yeah, I did see that. But like the problem with that is like I saw some like reply by him, and he was like, well, we're just gonna make another company, so I can't, because it was like I can't. Yeah, it was like I can't do it under the same name. So like, I don't really know how much money they were sued for. You know, I don't really know like the details like that. So,
well, hopefully with Riot and Bungie going after him, it was a pretty chunk. I mean, they can prove that it chased people away for that reason.
Oh, for sure.
All right, I need to ask this because Peace, Pathetic, whatever you want to call him this week. He says, Lemur, do you style your hair before stream?
Oh, 100%, dude. You think I'm streaming with a bedhead?
True that. What do you got against streaming with a bedhead?
Hey man, all I'm saying is that my
Gotta
hair's
look
like kind of
crispy.
long, and like if I like don't do anything with it, it just looks weird. So I gotta take a shower beforehand,
True.
before like every stream. But other than that, that's it.
True. Do you think? Actually, that's a good point. Talking about the crossplay, do you think it should be something like you can enable or disable if you want to play crossplay, or do you think it should just be all on all the time, ready to go?
I mean,
Yeah,
What you
it's
got, Maddox?
I don't know. I mean, that's a iffy. I mean, it wouldn't really matter though, right? Because you know, PC has. I mean, I guess it would, but you know, PC has controller players and M&K players, and
Sure.
I mean, I don't really know. I mean, in that case, it would really lower. It would make matchmaking a lot harder. Than if you know if everybody could play with each other, and they had to, then there would be more players in each playlist, right? So, you know, giving players the option to turn, you know, if you're talking input versus platform, that's a completely
Okay.
different issue. But
Yeah, but I mean, if you have somebody using a sim, it's still just showing up as
yeah,
a controller.
that is true. That is true.
You know.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I think the question that we gotta ask ourselves right now, or like with that kind of question, is do we like it's pretty much it's Bungie forcing you to play with players versus like you play with the players that you want to play with. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like why are they? You kind of have to ask why are they adding crossplay to the game? You know what I mean? Are they doing it because they want PC players to play with PS4 players, or are they doing it because they want the population size to increase? You know what I mean? As a whole. And so I don't really know how to answer that because I feel like there are a ton of like benefits to turning on crossplay and just like making people use it. And the only like I mean maybe there might be some people complaining about M&K, but like honestly I honestly think controller is really good in this game. I don't think it's like, you know, you're at a huge disadvantage if you're not, especially with the like maybe if you're on 30 FPS, definitely no. But if, you know, if you get 120 FPS, you got the FOV. Controller's a really good option, you know, for sure.
Sure.
So I don't really see too many people complaining about that, but like I could see why people like if people complained about like the cheaters or something like that, like if it was a big problem, then I could see why they would want to like be able to turn it off. You know what I mean? And only turn
Agreed.
it on when you want to play with your buddy who's on PC or something like that. You know?
Agreed.
So I don't know. That's a tough question because it would increase the player size, but like people might also be mad about it. So I don't know. I think I'm under the impression right now that it's just gonna be on.
Right. I think
I
it
think
should.
we'll have to,
Yep.
But
yeah, I think we'll have to wait until next season to kind of see, you know, the levels and that kind of stuff. Like I feel like that might be more of a last minute call for Bungie.
do you think they're
You
going
know,
to
to
launch it
kind of
next season, or do you think they're going to wait until Witch King or Witch Queen?
oh, I think Witch Queen for sure. Yeah, I didn't think it was coming anytime soon. I think it would. They genuinely, you know, the trend for the past like you know couple of years has been like let's
Yep.
wait for the big expansion. You know, so I feel like they're for sure gonna wait. But yeah, no, I feel like it's definitely gonna launch with Witch Queen, and I think we'll have to see what the population is like at that time in the game to like see if Bungie's just gonna make it turn it on. And I think if it's what it is now, I feel like they'll definitely just manually, you know, leave it on auto, leave it on all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
But if the game's doing
fully
really
blind.
well, they might consider, you know, not doing that.
Chubby made a good point. He says D2 community will always find a way to complain about new things. Do you think that that's why the PvP community is so ignored? Is because we can't sync up on the same thing? Nova, what you got?
I mean, yeah, that is a good point. That pretty much summed it up right there. I mean, when something new comes out, it's all mixed opinions. Oh, this could be good for the game, but oh, this is dumb. This is overpowered, you know. And then eventually Bungie makes changes, and then like, there's new things to complain about.
Agreed.
I mean,
Lemur.
you're never gonna satisfy everyone, so
But
no matter
do you think
what
that,
you do.
do you think that if we all came together as one thing, like I'll give the example of Warlock's Melee, right? We all came together, PvE and PvP, and said, this shit's broken. And Bungie fixed it within a week. Do you think that if we were able to do that with other things, that we would see more of a reactive response from Bungie?
Maybe. I mean, it just really depends on what it is that the complaints are about, but PvE players complaining about it definitely does probably play a factor.
Sure. Lemur, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I agree that I think if everyone complained about something, then yeah, for sure, Bungie does have to like do something about it. Like if you look at PvP, for example, like a lot of people, like even PvE players, are complaining about PvP. So that's why I think they're definitely gonna make some changes this next season. On that Warlock melee, dude, I don't know, man. Like they've never fixed anything that fast, and like we haven't seen anything been fixed that fast since.
Well,
so
they're on
like
new engines, so that kind of
that's true. That is true. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. I feel like part of me kind of wants to think that like they kind of knew they might have needed a nerf. You know what I mean, beforehand, so they might have been ready for that.
Right.
But like if you look at it though, right? If something heavily impacts PvP or PvE, sorry, they definitely get on it and they fix it. Like if you look at like the Warlock super that was broken and it can like one-shot bosses, and they found out about it like a week before the raid. You know, they put it into overtime and did everything they could to like, you know, fix it for the raid, so people couldn't do that. But if you look at something like PvP, where we have a similar issue, you know, with the Titan super or like the Titan subclass, where you like just go off the map, like you were like invisible, you could kill people and all kind of stuff. Remember that? That's why Trials was delayed for so long. Like it took them like 5 weeks to fix that, and it's kind of like you know, why did that one take so long? Sure, I'm not a game developer, you know, I don't know anything about coding. I mean, I know
making
a
you
little
feel
bit,
like an ugly stepchild.
Yeah, so it kind of just feels like, you know, it wasn't really in their priority to like fix it immediately, which I totally understand. You know, if that's not something they want to prioritize, that totally makes sense. But I feel like people also need to like keep that in mind, that it isn't a priority for them. So like, if people, like I feel like that's a good point. You know, if people do complain about it, then for sure, I think it will definitely see some changes in the future. You know, so that's why, like I said earlier, I feel like PvP is definitely going to get looked at, because a lot of people have been like, okay, PvP needs some work done.
Well, I mean, people are leaving because of it, you know.
Yeah. Because like, I mean, like I said, like right now, it's like there's really not much else to do, and when you have these big content drops, people really just look to PvP to like, you know, do stuff to,
especially,
you know, because they're bored.
Yearly,
yeah, exactly.
Drop.
It's really all there is to do in the game. Like especially when the season stuff this season was so lackluster. Like the season of the hunt was just like, it was not very good in comparison to like the stuff like even like last year, like last summer, I thought like the Umbral engrams and everything like that, I thought that was way better than the season of the hunt stuff.
Dude, I had lost so many exotic engrams because of those stupid Umbrals.
Oh yeah.
So
I think we all did. I definitely
exotics.
did. Yeah, from the Postmaster, I definitely did. But yeah, I definitely think that system was way better than what we have now. But it's just like, people are looking at PvP now, you know, because there's not much else to do, you know.
Yep. So. Which is how it works out. Is once people finish the low man activities and PvE and things like that, everyone goes to PvP.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I think PvP is integral for this game. Honestly, is because it gives people something to do when there's nothing else on the slow times, and I feel like it's lost. The Cutie Maddox has a question for you both. He says, the top 3 things you want to see changed in the PvP meta quality of life. What are the top 3 things? If you had to pick 3, I know there's a fat list, but
for me, number 1 right now. Okay, well, is it like, are we talking like everything PvP or like just trials specifically or what?
Pick what you main on. So that'll give you the best chance to talk a little bit more about it, you know, obviously.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so for trials right now, I think we can all agree it is a really slow game mode, and it's not supposed to be. It's kind of been turned into this slow game mode where, especially with Stasis, you know, and you have these abilities that you can get punished so hard if you make a mistake. And people just, I've played games where people just run like max discipline and literally never shoot their gun, and that's like all I died to that game is, and I lose because you just get so many grenades, you know, for 100 Shadow Dive. So I feel like right now, if they find a way to take that aspect out of the game, or not, I say aspect, I'm not even talking about Stasis, I'm talking about sword peeking, or like playing slow. If they can take that out of the game or just rework it somehow to where it's not a thing, because like right now that like tremendously just Like the fact that people can just be like, oh yeah, well I don't need to push, I'll just sit in my spawn and just farm my super. And that's why that if coming on Chaos Reach, we were talking about how it's a really good option. That's part of the reason is because it's a shutdown supers. It's a shutdown super, and supers like that and Golden Gun and other supers get their super much faster than something like Stasis. So if you combine that with like Geomags and like max intellect, you can literally get a super in like round 2.
Yes.
So if you just wait the whole round, like,
You mean
it's
round
crazy.
2 and 3 and 4 and 5?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's really
Every
easy
round.
just to sit and spawn and like not move. So when you're playing entire games like that, like I'm okay if people play like that, like once a card, like it's whatever, it's their flawless game, they want to go flawless, I totally get that. But like when you're playing teams where like that's all they do, and like you're kind of forced to have to play it too, because if you try to push them and they have stasis, you know what I mean, like
Yep.
you're just gonna get shatter dived. And so then on top of that, it kind of goes hand in hand with 120s too. I think 120s are really good, and I like how they switched up the sandbox, and at the same time I think that they're a little oppressive right now. Like I think that the fact that you can like hit people to the head for like 90 from like across the map is just like crazy. Like I think I like how they they gave it a range buff and an RPM buff. I think it should have been one of either or. So
Right.
I feel like if they made them 110s but kept the range, that would be fine. Or if they kept them as 120s but nerfed the range a little bit, that would also be fine. Because right now it's like I think 140s feel awesome, but it's like there's no reason to run it right now because I'm just gonna get destroyed by 120.
Oh, see,
So
I'm the opposite side. I run nothing but dire, and I outgun 120s at range, obviously.
I don't know. I played a ton of people who just if you're at range, yeah, exactly. But if you're not, if you're a little bit out of range, you're doing like 40 to 50 and they're doing 90 and you're just getting smacked. So that's why it's annoying. It's like I would be fine. Maybe if they could even buff like 140 range. Maybe that would help. I don't know. Have to do some testing. But I feel like that'd be a good idea too. But definitely like right now for sure. It's pretty nuts. So I feel like if that probably be like number 2 for me, would be 120s kind of need a little bit of a touch, then sword peeking and emo peeking, because that slows it down. And then I guess stasis, which is what we talked about earlier. Probably those 3 things for trials. It's kind of what's probably the most annoying for people is the fact that people can just not move in the spawn, right? They kind of all 3 mesh together and form this one big super problem that people don't like. And so it's kind of like people don't move and they sword peek so they can see into lanes before they peek them. So if they see someone's gonna snipe down the lane, they're not gonna peek that lane and they're just gonna sit there. If you try to push them or even move at all, they have the range on you, so they're just gonna use their 120 and just sit back and just like, or the team shots too. Team shots are deadly with those things, right?
Yeah.
Like literally 1, 2, 3, all of you guys hit the same guy, they're dead. Like boom, they're pretty nasty. So that does not help it at all either. So that's the second problem. And the third problem is if you somehow do manage to close the gap and you can push them or whatever, maybe you're better shotgunner than them and you can slide and get the kill, like they just shatter dive you and you just die, So it's kind of like I think those are the problems plaguing trials right now. I feel like those are probably the 3 quality of life things I would like to see changed for sure.
Sure. No, what you got? What's your 3 things?
So I was basically gonna like say almost the exact same thing. Like the playstyle right now is really slow, especially for me because I really like shotgunning and pushing in, playing fast. But I feel like with shatter dive and stasis in general, I feel like my playstyle is being completely shut off. Like when I want to push in, I get shatter dives. Whenever I want to sit back, I get team shot 120 and empowering rifts.
Yeah, it's annoying.
Yep.
And while I'm not able to push in, they're charging up their chaos reaches with GMX. So
yep.
Yeah,
it's you just see people running into walls and just getting their super, and it's like cool. It's definitely something that's annoying. Like I totally get why people are doing Chaos Reach too. Like I don't blame them. I think it's a really good subclass and I like it. I just feel like so many people are doing it because of stasis, which makes sense. It's a pretty good counter, because you literally get a super, like you can probably get like 3 or 4 a game. 3's on like the low side, like if you're playing super slow and not moving, you definitely get like 4 or 5. So yeah, no, it's those are probably my 3. Just how slow trials is. It's definitely
It's
That's
very
sad.
slow. It's very slow.
Yeah. Very slow.
I'm gonna build off of it. Obviously, Stasis has been the base topic. Chibs is a PvE main that's trying to learn PvP as well. But obviously, with everybody talking so negatively about Stasis, it pushes him away. So he says, "Do you think that PvP is so bad because people can't adjust to Stasis, or is it really that broken?" And be honest about it. Like, obviously, Nova said, I can't push with a shotgun. Do you think that that's a not willingness to adjust and bait something that you know is coming?
No.
Yeah, no, I think it's like a mix. Like you can totally bait people, and like bait out their shadow dives. Like I was saying, like you can do that. You can outplay people and be like, I know they're gonna shadow dive, so like I'll shotgun someone before they shadow dive, right before they even hit the ground for the nade, and I still will not kill them because they have like damage resistance. So I
Right.
feel like it's really because a lot of Stasis right now is broken. And you can outplay it. It's not like you can. Like you can totally bait nades. Like I've done it before. You're like, oh, the guy's gonna smash, so you don't peek a doorway, then you waste it, and then you can totally push in. But like, it's a lot to think about when you already have like everything else on your mind. Just from like, if you look at stuff that we had to think about like before, Stasis came out, just for like playing scrims, like team shotting. Like is this guy gonna come to my left, my right? You know what I mean? Like it's just like general like thoughts going on during a game, and then you also have to include like Stasis. Does he have a nade and all this kind of crap on top of it? It's like, or does he have 2 shurikens, or like what kind of nade does he have? Am I gonna get frozen in a dust field?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like all that kind of stuff. Like it kind of adds a lot of thinking to it, and I feel like that thinking would be fine if they nerfed it a little bit, like we talked about earlier, where these abilities weren't a really big problem, because right now it's really just like, like you can't really push anything because like, yeah, even if you try to outplay the guy, like the range is still massive on shadow dive. So even if you think you're out of range, like you might not be, so it's like, I know that's happened to me before. I'm like, oh, I'm going to bait him. I'll literally say it out loud. I'm like, oh, I'm going to bait this guy. Then I just die anyways. I'm like, oh, sick.
I'm gonna bait him, and I didn't.
Yeah, it's,
And
so I think you can definitely get better. And I think it's a good time to play PvP. Just know that like, just try not to crutch on Stasis too hard, because like, it's definitely going to be nerfed like
It's
next
going to be
season for
adjusted,
sure. So, so I would say learn everything you can right now, and then eventually, it's definitely gonna change. It'll get a lot better. So, just try to use things that aren't gonna get nerfed. So like the base subclasses, or even the aspects of Stasis that aren't broken, and get used to those, because you can definitely outplay people with that. I think like the cool outplays are like when people dodge and throw their shuriken. Like it's annoying, but I think that's fun.
Right.
When you like
Yeah.
out, but like not like Pega like smashed the nade and he's like get killed, like
So-
it's definitely annoying.
I had I'm on the opposite side where I feel like you absolutely can beat Stasis, and it reminds me of back when Tether was first introduced in D1. Everybody complained about the tracking on the Tether, the speed of the arrow,
I remember
the smoke grenades killing way too fast, things like that, and it was all the same. It almost sounded like the same spiel as what we're hearing with Stasis. So for the last week, I went into quick play in 6s, and I ran spec blades, and I ran a 140, and I still top fragged, and we won most of the time. But I had to play a lot more map awareness. I had to be like, okay, I know that this is a lane that everybody pushes through. There's 6 Stasis hunters on their team. I know that they're going to throw their grenades at this corner, right? So I jump in, jump out, and get away. And we spent the last week talking about ways to counter it, Things like Icarus dash, right? Where if they throw a nade and you can dash backwards and get away from it and clear it out. Or same thing with the Titans, behemoth movement for melee. You can launch yourself away from the nade and get away from it, and then go back and engage, because most of these guys that are using Stasis don't know how to play the game without an ability, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think like we said, it can definitely be outplayed. It's not like you can definitely get easy kills with it if you don't really know what you're doing in the Crucible. You can just throw a grenade and smash it, or you could definitely like outplay it if you do know what you're doing. So that's different. However, at the same time, the problem arises right when it's like a good player, who's using it, because what they will do is they'll just use their primary to gun you down first, or they're like have their shotgun out, and if they look like they're gonna lose a gunfight, that's when they just throw a nade on the ground and smash you, and it's just like a free kill. You know what I mean? So those are the players that are like harder to play around, are the ones that don't lead into gunfights with it. You know what I mean? They kind of like
Sure.
lead with their gun, and then if the outlook is looking kind of bleak, that's when they use it. It's kind of like a last resort kind of
Panic
thing.
throw.
Those are the ones that I found like I don't have a clip, but I remember I played this guy. Like I was literally just aping him with a shot because he wasn't even looking at me, and he was like gunning down someone else. So I was just running at him, or like I hit him with primary, made him one shots, and then like before I could even like get close to him with a shotgun, he just realized he was gonna die, so he just jumped in the air and naded me, and he came out alive, and I died. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's
Right.
just like stuff like that, where it's like, you know, so you can definitely outplay it and play around it. Like for sure, like at the start of trials matches and stuff, you know, it's like I know this dude's just gonna run in here and nade us, so let's split apart. But it kind of like later on when you aren't sure if they have a nade, you know, when it's like round 3,
Right.
you know, or if it's like, you know, you're in the middle of a gunfight with them, you're getting kind of close, and you're like, ah, shit. Well, like, do I shotty them? Do I push in because I can
You're
get a
trying
kill
to
right
check
now?
their discipline, figure it
you
out.
yeah, it's like it's definitely a lot to think about. But I think if they didn't have that crazy, as if it wasn't as OP as it is now, then it would be a lot easier to outplay. If that makes sense. Like it's easier to outplay the shurikens, and it's easier to outplay dustfield nades and behemoth, you know, melees and all that kind of stuff. But like I think the thing that's really impressive right now is the Titan super and the glacial nade, you know, explosion crap. So if that stuff gets nerfed, I feel like it'll definitely be a lot easier to outplay and a lot easier to play around, which is like what you were saying. Like I feel like 6 is just different. You know what I mean? Like it's just like
Well, 6
it's
is
really
way more chaotic with Stasis.
it's just
you know?
yeah, exactly. I just feel like it's really hectic. So like if people don't really care as much if they you know waste their nade and that kind of stuff, so they're not gonna like hold, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. At least for me, like whenever I play, I'm kind of just like whatever, because it doesn't really matter. But if I'm playing trials, like there were literally like when I played Hunter and I know we're playing other teams like abusing it, there will literally be games where I straight up like make sure I have a nade before I push or do
Right.
anything just in case. You know what I mean? Like if I'm like, okay, like, you know, if they have a nade, I don't, I'm screwed. So it's like I need to have one. Yeah. So I feel like once they nerf it, it's definitely a little bit easier to outplay.
Yeah. Nova, do you you feel the same? You got anything to add?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, again, like I was saying earlier, as someone who plays very aggressively, I feel like changing, you know, with the nade changes later on, it'll definitely make it a lot easier,
Sure.
you know, to push in and make decisions quickly.
So this will be we're running a little over on time already, but your guys' discussions have been absolutely phenomenal, so I don't mind. My final question for it is talking counter strikes of Stasis. What's some things you guys found that worked well to combat Stasis in competitive settings? So in like a survival, in like trials, things like that. What have you found that works well besides just baiting the corner and then pushing in?
I mean, first off, obviously, you know, chaos reach, being able to farm your abilities against the other team, and also top Dawn is very, very effective for being able to dodge the different stasis attacks. So, I mean, mostly what a lot of things that Warlocks have, I've found are very good for that.
Yeah. For me, like I'm definitely like a sniper main and that kind of stuff. I was like shoddy for a while when it first came out, when the season first came out, because like, you know, Hunter was crazy with the shadow dive nade, so I kind of shottied for a while. But I definitely sniped, you know, for the past like year or so, doing carries and that kind of stuff. So, and especially this last weekend, what I found really worked out well was something that made Top Street On like so good, especially last season, and why people was like, oh, it's broken, which is kind of crazy because like now it's, I don't want to say it's like gone under the radar a little bit, but like it definitely has, in terms of like, you know, because last season so many people were like, oh, Top Street On's broken, it needs a nerf, I can't wait for them to nerf it. And then they came out with Stasis, and now everyone's like, holy crap, I'm getting shadow dived all the time, this is so annoying.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of been overlooked a little bit. But like you can just get to lanes like so fast. And so one of the things I did this weekend was everyone's running Stasis, so they're all pretty, like if they're all hunters, you know, they're just I'm just gonna be faster than them for the most part because I'm a warlock. And there's stuff you could do, like, you know, you can bounce your head off walls and stuff like that with the stompies, but like that's a different story. But for the most part, I'll get to the lane first, and so people like don't really expect you to be there that fast. and so they just kind of run across the lane because they're like for example, it's like when you spawn trucks and they spawn like C over in mill and they're like going to B like on dead cliffs, and I'm like on divider, like I'm at divider before they even like cross to B. And so what I can literally just sit there and they'll just be jumping across, and it's like easy picks, just like right there. And they so if you hit your shots, you know what I mean, I found that to be really effective this weekend. It was like people just would not expect that. And then also top trade on 2, the same thing, you know, you could float different angles, so you hit all these like crazy angles that no one really expects you to hit, and you can see them in different areas and all that kind of stuff where people don't really expect that. So you can kind of get the jump on them before, you know, they get the jump on you, if that makes sense. So it's a good way to counter Stasis, if that makes sense. At least how I found it is by playing, I guess, more aggressive than they are, because a lot of people don't expect that, is because they're like, oh, I'm a Stasis hunter, you know, I can smash everything. But if you know, get there first and kind of surprise them, you know, no one really sees that coming. And so that's a good way too. And this also works with Titan as well. Like the Stasis Titan is so fast. Like it is, I haven't really mastered it yet because I haven't played it as much. But like you can get to the lanes like as fast, like if not faster than a top trade on, like with the melee and the slide and like the Titan skating stuff you can do. Like there are some ways you can definitely do it. So Titan works too. So it's definitely a good counter, is like playing, that's how I've always played too. Like I've always just played fast, like with snipers. Like I'll dash over a spot, get a pick, and I'll just run away. You know what I mean? That's kind of I've always played. So yeah, it works out really well, I think, is playing top trade on, or like maybe even Stasis Titan if you like, you know, want to get to an angle fast. But I mean, I guess if you really don't want to use Stasis at all, you know, like you just want to like, you know, like just, I don't know, be an anti-Stasis guy. Right. I guess top trade on is probably your best bet for sure. Like if I had to do like a subclass tier list, it would right now would probably be like Stasis Hunter and Stasis Titan, and then probably top trade on like after that, in my opinion.
Okay. Nova, how do you compete with Stasis?
Compete with Stasis, you say? So I mean, in terms of like movement and gameplay, obviously I try to be as fast as I can. Like Lemur was saying, you know, getting to angles before the other team. But in terms of like, you know, and then obviously with Top Dawn you have dashing, which allows you to get places a lot quicker. Basically just trying to play as unpredictably as I can in general. So
okay.
I mean, obviously, if you just sprint forward W key, you're probably going to get shadow dived or hit by something. So
right.
I try to like zigzag around, you know, when I'm pushing lanes a little bit more.
Serpentine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if you play predictable with Stasis, like sure, if you like have confidence in your gun skills, like maybe you can use your primary and just like sit back. But like if you do what most teams do, where you just, you know, you spawn on one side, other team spawns on the other side, you go to the main lane, just kind of sit there. Like it's really easy to like just kind of get caught up in their game by just like sitting there, not moving. They're charging their abilities, you know what I mean? And they all just kind of push when they want. Like it's definitely easy to like get caught up in that. So I feel like you kind of do have to play in an unpredictable kind of fashion, right? To outplay Stasis, in my opinion, which is good. You know, you change shit up, and like, you know, people are able to be like, oh, like, you know, why is he doing that? You know, like people don't do that, and, you know, and so it's pretty cool. But at the same time, it's definitely going to be a lot easier to play around once they nerf it next season. So,
agreed. All right, chat. We got time for one more question, and then we'll jump into the practical portion on if anybody wants to learn, not run the guess. If you want to learn from the guests themselves, make sure to type in chat. Let me know. Kama says, Lemur, do you have an OnlyFans?
Exclamation mark OnlyFans in the chat.
I have that command, actually.
No, I do too. That's what I was saying.
The only reason we asked that, first off, is the only person that we've had on here that actually has an OnlyFans that posted it is Nighthawk.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not kidding. Funny. Nighthawk has an actual OnlyFans, and he has a command in my chat now for that reason.
That's funny.
It's pretty good. I'm looking to see. Zero says he's getting your OnlyFans link right now. All right, so I got one more thing to ask from you guys. Can you do me a favor? Go into my chat and type all your socials. Your Twitch, your Twitter, your YouTube, your Insta, whatever you got. Type it in chat. And then chat, it is your responsibility to go follow these two for taking their time to come be with us, answer questions, and be all around good humans. I don't want to follow that Nova guy. Toxic. He played with Sweatsicle. That's my favorite. Nova has a command in my chat as well for that reason.
Oh no. Not this again.
Perfect. Chat, go show some love to these two. Make sure to hit those follow buttons, hit those subscribe buttons, whatever you need to do. And yeah, let's roll into the practical.
Let's do it.